All right, we're getting ready to go live in just a little bit here. This is gonna be doggone-tastic. Getting ready to rock on the Monday Mindset Movement. Rob Key, good to see you on Instagram. Good to see you. Sherry S, good to see you. All right. Russell, good to see you this morning. Jay, good to see you. Ray, good to see you. Amy and Bill, good to see you. Darius and Rachel, good to see you this morning. Matt and Mia, Ted, Charles C, good to see you this morning. How y'all doing? We're getting ready to go live on the Monday Mindset Movement. It's going to be a fantastic day. Dwayne Hilton, good to see you. Galaxy Wellness, glad to see you on Instagram this morning. So glad y'all are in the house. Yeah. We got people on LinkedIn. We have people on Facebook. We got people on Instagram. How are y'all doing this morning? Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Monday Mindset Movement. 15 minutes of motivation, inspiration, and elevation designed to get you rocking and rolling through your week. Top of the week. Glad that you're here with me this morning. Give me a high five. Just say, hey, give me a me. Give me a thumbs up. ORL 4879. Good to see you on Instagram this morning. D Bowden, good to see you on YouTube this morning. So glad that y'all are here. Hey, y'all, if you want to know when we're going live, do me a favor. Text go live to 240-557-8679. That's go live. One word, not two, one word, to 240-557-8679. If you want to join the movement, have access to the other Monday Mindset Movement, and get connected with some of the Monday Mindset Movement crew, join us, MondayMindsetMovement.com, every Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time, whatever time it is on the eastern coast of the United States of America. Hey, y'all, here's my question for you this morning. You know we start out with a question. How much do you work? How much do you work? That's the question this morning. Or maybe the question is, how much do you live? What exactly is it that living or life is made up of for you? Well, we're going to talk about that this morning on the Mindset Movement. Here we go. Ooh, yeah, bam. What's up, y'all? Welcome again to the Monday Mindset Movement. So glad that you're here. I see a lot of you out there. I'm so glad that you're here. D Bowden, good to see you. Edlin, I know that's you. ORL 4879. So glad that you're here on Instagram. Galaxy, glad that you're here on Instagram. Dwayne, glad that you're here on Instagram. Charles, glad that you're here on YouTube. D, glad you're here on YouTube. John, glad you're here on YouTube as well. My gosh. So glad that y'all are here. Do me a favor, if you are a real estate agent interested in upping your video story game, do me a favor, text VSB to 240-557-8679. Yeah. This morning, we're talking about the myth of work-life balance. Yes, we are talking about that. So how many of you heard that term, work-life balance, before? As a matter of fact, if you are somebody that's trying to achieve work-life balance, just go ahead and type me in the comments. Let me see who my work-life balance people are. Are you trying to achieve work-life balance? Well, let's talk about that this morning. So let me ask you this question. How many hours do you work per week? Go ahead and type that in the chat as well. How many hours do you work per week? Let's see what we've got here. I see you, Clestine, on YouTube. So glad that you're here this morning. How many hours do you work per week? Is it 20? Is it 30? Is it 40? Is it 50? Is it 60? How many hours do you work per week? All right. So if you're an hourly employee, I see we've got some people, quite a few people coming through saying, I see 60. Somebody says 40 question mark. Somebody else, Facebook user, I'm not seeing your name, but they're saying 40. So if you are an employee, an hourly employee, you might say 40, right? Because you got to get approved to do overtime, etc. If you are a salaried employee, you might say 40-ish. Right? If you're a salaried employee, you might say 40-ish. If you are an entrepreneur, you might say, what you talking about, Willis? Old reference for those of you who remember that. Right? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? 40 hours? That's a foreign concept for some of us, right? As this is being recorded, if you're watching this on a replay, go ahead and type replay. If you're watching this live, go ahead and type #live so that I know who my live people are, right? If you're watching this as it's being recorded and aired, today is October 23rd. Tomorrow, October 24th, in the United States, is the 83rd anniversary of the day the U.S. amended the Fair Labor Standards Act to adopt a 40-hour work week, right? Some of you just assumed that was around. You're wondering where that came from. 83 years ago, tomorrow, the United States said, hey, 40 hours per week is the standard that we are going to adopt for people. Prior to that, right? This was around the Industrial Revolution time. Prior to that, people were working 14 to 16-hour days, 6 days a week, right? They may get a day off. And here's what was happening. They were finding that there were some social as well as health implications to this. Can you imagine working 14 to 16-hour days? Some of you are like, yeah, we do that now still, right? We've got 168 hours per week. We've got 24 hours per day. Some of you work 16 hours and maybe you'll sleep 6, you'll eat for 1, and you may play a game on your phone for the other one, right? So people were working and it was having a lot of health implications on them. So here's what happened in this Industrial Revolution time. The mindset that was created was one that there was work and then there was everything else. There was work and then there was everything else. At least that's what we're led to believe. You see, here's the thing. Here's the issue with that. That mindset or that thought process was an employer or wealthy owner driven mindset, right? Because the wealthy owners weren't working 14 to 16 hours. The employers, the head employers, weren't working 14 to 16 hours. It was the workers, it was the employees, and dare I say, I'll get in trouble for this with somebody. It was the slaves that were working those ridiculous hours. The people that were at the head of the ship, the people that were at the head of things were not working 14 to 16 hours. So when we get this down to 40 hours, right? When we get this down to 40 hours, there is still some measure of control inside of that. And I'm going to come to that in a second. But here's one of the things that I want to say as our truth, right? In order for us to live, we either have to work, have someone that works, or have something that works, right? We either have to work, have someone that works, or have something that works. Robert Kiyosaki wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and he talks about the cash flow quadrant. And he kind of breaks this down into 4 different areas. And he says, you either have a job, right? And that is I forget the letters. E, employed, right? You either have a job or you own a job, which means you work for yourself, but you've just kind of got a job, and that's the S, the self-employed. You own a system, right? You own a system, which means you are a business owner that works for you, or your money works for you. So that there are four different ways that you can show up, right? You either have a job, you own a system, or the money works for you. So here's why I'm bringing that up. Work-life balance. We've been talking about this concept of work-life balance. Work-life balance is a matter of perspective, and it is not a perspective that is distributed equitably. As a matter of fact, work-life balance may be a placebo concept of control. What do I mean by that? Right? If I'm at the head, if I'm pulling the strings, if I'm making certain choices for you, then I'm going to create something that allows you to feel like you're retaining a certain measure of control over your life. So if I tell you, yep, you used to work 14 to 16 hours. Oh, but now I'm breaking it down so that you can work 8 hours only. I'm giving you a little bit more freedom so that you can then come back and do what you need to do for me. I want you all to think about that. And believe me, I'm not disparaging jobs. I'm not disparaging employees. I'm not disparaging employers. But I want us to think about this concept of work-life balance. And I want you to think about the myth of it. There's not just work and everything else. Right? There's not just work and everything else. I want you to think about some questions. Do we live life to work, or do we work to live life? Let me ask it another way. John's Real Estate Services, glad to see you. Mahesh, Mobile Repairing, so glad that you're here on Instagram. Right? Dominique Kennedy, how are you doing? My gosh, on LinkedIn. Sharon Kendrew, glad you're here. So let me ask you this other question. Is everything in your life designed so that you can focus on your career, or is your work designed so that you can live a fuller life? I want you to ask those questions to yourself. The big question inside of all of this, as we talk about work-life balance or the myth of it, the big question is, does work overshadow every other area of your life? Zig Ziglar, great motivational speaker, has this wheel, and he shares that there are 7 major areas of our lives. There's social, there's career, there's financial, there's spiritual, there's physical, there's intellectual, there's family. There's these 7 areas that we've got to address or we take care of in our lives. Is career the one that is overshadowing everything else? Now, some of us might think that I'm saying, right? Some of us might think that I'm saying we've got to seek balance in every one of these areas when I'm talking about disputing the myth of work-life balance. Truth is, nothing is ever in complete balance. I want you to think about an airplane. A pilot starts from one destination, sets the GPS or sets the navigation from that destination to the end. And all the way along that journey, that pilot is pushing in what would seem to be a straight or defined line. But what's happening actually is that plane is constantly going off course. That plane is constantly out of balance. That plane is constantly out, and the pilot is always seeking to bring it back to a space or redirect it towards a space. So there's never an equal balance. It's never there's always a cause and effect. There's always an action reaction. You always breathe in and then breathe out, right? And here's why I'm pointing this out because if we've got these 7 areas of our lives that we've got to make some decisions about, it's not really possible to be balanced in every single area. However, it is possible to be extremely out of balance in one area, especially on a regular basis. So the question that you've got to ask yourself, is that work? Is career that space that you're always out of balance in? Because if we refer to things as work-life balance, then yeah, work is this one thing that we focus on and then everything else gets a little bit. Work gets 40% and then everything else gets 10. Greg McKeown, I'm probably pronouncing his name, Greg McKeown, the author of the book Essentialism, the Disciplined Pursuit of Less is his book. He says that if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. I'll say that another way. Balance isn't the goal, prioritization is. What is my priority now? What is my priority this week? What is the thing that needs the most attention right now? If I'm working all the time, but my family is suffering or my family's away from me, when I come back from working, where do I put my focus? Is my focus just going to be on resting to go back to work, or is my focus going to be on making sure that my family is prioritized that week? And this is why it's essential. Even if you don't have the money immediately to afford a vacation, this is why it's essential to spend time away with family. Right? I'll go back to Greg McKeown's book here, and I'll just read a couple of things that he shared that I found just fantastic, profound, right? He talks about this concept of essentialism. And we talk about, or the way that we operate our lives, especially based on social media, we're always searching for more and we're always jamming our lives full. And what he says is essentialism is not about how to get more things done. It's about how to get the right things done. It doesn't mean just doing less for the sake of less either. It's about making the wisest possible investment of your time and energy in order to operate at our highest point of contribution by only doing what's essential. So this myth of balance is not about doing everything equally. It's really about prioritizing and being our best by doing the things that are essential. And here's what happens. Sometimes we're afraid to prioritize because it feels like we're missing out on opportunities or giving something up. And McKeown addresses this again. And he says, instead of asking, what do I have to give up? He says, essentialist asks the question, what do I want to go big on? Instead of asking, what do I have to give up? Essentialists ask the question, what do I have to go big on? So as we do at the end of every week, we're winding down here. I want to implore you and encourage you to take some steps. I want to encourage you to take some steps. And here are 3 things that I want to encourage you to do over the next week. I want you to take 10 to 15 minutes today and list out the top thing that you must do in each of these 7 areas. You've got 7 areas: social, career, financial, spiritual, physical, intellectual, family. If you think about this week ahead of you, the 7 days ahead of you, what are the top things? What's the top 1 thing that you must do in each of these areas? Okay. And once you've listed those, what I want you to do next is I want you to prioritize what you're going to go big on this week, because this week might be a spiritual week where you need to lean into that. Or this week might be a social week. Maybe you're missing your community and you've been ignoring friends and you've been ignoring relationships, and you might need to lean in to that this week. Or maybe there's a big project on your table at work or in your job or in your business. That might be what you need to lean into this week. Right? What is it that you need to prioritize? So number 1, take 10 to 15 minutes and list your top must-dos in each of those 7 areas. Number 2, prioritize what you are going to go big on this week. And then the third thing that I want you to think about, the third thing that I want you to focus on is understanding or asking yourself the question, why is it important for me to go big on this thing? Yeah, that's your homework. That's your homework for this week. Listen, I've been going through this book, Essentialism by Greg McKeown this week, and I want to end our time today by reading a paragraph from the book that I thought was powerful. And it says, when we forget our ability to choose, we learn to be helpless. Drip by drip, we allow our power to be taken away until we end up becoming a function of other people's choices, even a function of our past choices. In turn, we surrender our power to choose. That's the path of the non-essentialist. The essentialist doesn't just recognize the power of choice, he celebrates it. The essentialist knows that when we surrender our right to choose, we give others not just the power, but also the explicit permission to choose for us. How will you guard your life? How will you operate? Will you operate by choosing work and then everything else? Or will you operate by choosing and designing the type of life that you want to lead, the type of impact that you want to make in the world, and then allowing everything else or choosing how to fit everything else inside of that? That's your thought. That's your goal. That's your homework this week. Today is Monday, and we want to shift your mindset from a place of stagnance to a place of growth. But it doesn't just start and stop on Monday. We want to encourage you to take your Monday mindset into tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. Be curious, make a choice, move, start a movement, be a movement. Join me next week, Monday at 8 a.m. for the Monday Mindset Movement on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. Yes, guess what, y'all? You can do everything. Actually, let me say that again. You can do anything, but not everything. Prioritize. Take control of you. Choose your life. I'll see y'all next week on the Monday Mindset Movement. Peace. Bye, Sharon. Bye, Dee. So glad that y'all are here. Mohammed, glad to see you. My collections.